Hello friends, welcome back. You are with Shabazz at Mobile Tutes. Here you learn about Android and Java programming. Today I am introducing an important topic of Android, that is navigation between activities. So on the previous tutorial, you learned about activity and its callbacks. So now we are learning about navigation between the activities when we go from one activity to another. So starting an activity from another, we usually need to start an activity at some point, as we know that activity is basically our screen. So to do this task, we need to create an intent. Intent actually a messaging object that facilitates the communication between components in several ways. Like we can start an activity, we can start a service or broadcast receiver by using intent. So intent, we have two types of intent: explicit intents or implicit intent. So let's move on to explanation of explicit and implicit intent. Explicit intent, where we specify the component to start by name. We usually do it when we use a activity from our application, or that the application is in our application. The activity is our application. So we usually provide the fully qualified class name because we know it, know the class name, and we use intent I, then initializing the intent, and this is our first class. This is our first activity, and this is our second activity where we need to go, and start activity I. Here we provide the object of intent. Then implicit intent. Usually we can start a explicit intent. We can start a new activity. For example, for the news app, we need to we can show the list of breaking news that we provided from our own. So then implicit intent. Implicit intent, sometimes we provide a general action to perform. Like when working with our own application, we can also provide some action, like send an email, text message, using data from your activity. So in this case, you don't have to provide the activity name, or you don't know the activity name, but you just know the action that you want to perform. Then you can take the activity, then any activity that can handle the intent will provide the facility to open it or to send the email. So implicit intent, first when we start an implicit intent by start activity, then it will we send it to the Android system, and Android system will decide who will decide the activity, or the application who will handle the intent. If in any case, if there are more than one application, one activity who can handle the intent, then Android system will provide a dialog, so user can choose one of them. So this is an example of implicit intent. Here we also provide intent, create the intent, and just provide the action. Then put extra, where we add an extra value, a string value generally. We can also provide a parsable here. It's a separate topic, so we can I will create another tutorial for this, and start an activity. So this is and now comes on the very important point here, the transition between the activity or coordinating activities. Like when we are going to start an activity B from activity A. So what we have to do to understand all the life cycle of callbacks, because when we conversing, when we coordinating activity, it means both of the activity callbacks interact, and we need to understand it. So activity, first of all, activity A's onPause method execute, and then activity B's onCreate, onStart and onResume method execute in sequence. Means activity B now has user focus, now comes on the focus. Then only if activity A is no longer visible screen, its onStop method executes. It means activity A is not stop until B resume. So it is very important. Now one more thing, start activity for result. Sometimes if activity wants to return a result after when it exits. So like for example, when a user pick a person in a list of contacts, and if returns and it will return the selected person. So we use start activity for result. It used when you want to get result back from the activity when it ends. So we provide here the intent identifier and integer. And to handle this, the parent activity needs to call onActivityResult method, and along with the integer, it will identify the onActivityResult. It will identify the particular call. So let's move on the coding. So here I'm going to create a activity, a simple activity first. I already created it, a button, activity A for example. Here what we do, we need to first initialize it, button button, first declare it, and here initialize it in onCreate. How we initialize it? First we do the casting, find view by id, r.id.button, and then implementing onClickListener to this button. Set onClickListener, new onClickListener. So now creating another activity, new activity, empty, for example activity, second activity, first activity and second activity. Second activity, then intent, new intent, then first activity dot this is our context for first activity context, and then the second activity dot class. What we like, we need to provide here the first context and second is a class, and then start activity and intent. So we can provide here like onStop, toast, onStop A. So now move on to activity B, second activity, then onResume, onStart. Okay, toast. onCreate first, onCreate B, for example. So onResume B and onStart B. Now run this. So our application has been launched. So I'm going to click on this button. onCreate Activity B, onStart activity, onResume activity, and onStop activity A. So it means activity onStop activity A will call after onResume activity A, onResume activity B. So now that's all for today. Thanks for watching the video, and please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thanks for watching.